The Taupo District Council Chamber for our May meeting. Good afternoon, councillors, afternoon staff, members of the public and members of the press here this afternoon. It's a full agenda, and I'd just like to call on Councillor Truman from Mangakino to give us a blessing today. Thank you, Councillor Truman.
I te atua kaharawa kia tatama koe kia mātou I tēnei rā, mana ki te a mātou mahi katoa, I runga te ingoa, Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Councillor Truman. Right, item number 1. Are we okay with the live streaming, Mrs. Nian? Good as gold, so we're going worldwide. Apologies, number 1. Do we have any apologies? No, a full house. Good to see, so no apologies needed. Item number 2, conflicts of interest. Any particular members have any conflicts of interest of any of the items today? That being the case, we'll carry on. Item number 3, confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on 26th of April 2017.
Worship.
Yes.
Councillor
Williamson.
Place nice to record. Councillor Hickling withdrawn the local government conference. I'll be attending in his place. The conference.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you. 5.9, number 2, page 9. The council approved the attendance of myself, councillors Kingy and Truman, along with Andy Hema, to the Emergency Management Conference in Wellington. Due to it being annual plan hearings, councillors Truman, Kingy and myself find that it is more important to us to be here doing our job that we've been elected to do, but thank the council for your support.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Park. Any other items of clarification on those minutes? That being the case, could I have a mover, please, for those minutes? Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item 3.2, extraordinary meeting, council meeting on the 16th of May. Any matters arising from those minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Body.
Mr. Chairman, it's with reluctance that I bring up what I'm about to bring up, but I feel in good governance in my job as a councillor for this district I must. The first issue I wish to raise in regards of that particular meeting, and this is not overly serious, but we had a comment made by Mr. Minhanna in regards of our increase, our leasing buildings off-site would not increase or have an effect on rates. I think it would be quite easy to say that if you're spending $800,000 because you've had a good year, that's actually $800,000 that can't be spent, say, around about at Arrowsmith Street or out at we're right about it, what's it called? Norman Smith Street. However, my real concern, and this comes down to the good governance part, was that when we sat down for that meeting, we were given a number of papers. I think it was a bit over 30 pages. One of them was 22 pages long, which was from Dowdall and Associates that did the air monitoring. Now, when I went through these letters, I became very, very concerned about the misinformation that had been given out about this particular building. And first I'd like to refer to the letter from Brown and Bates, employment lawyer, civil litigation. On the second line down, they state that they have not seen any reports or documentation, but understand that the expert concluded that the asbestos is currently in a hazardous, friable state. My first question is, where did they get that from? Secondly, I was more concerned when I read the letter from the PSA in regards of the PSA's deep concern about staff still being domiciled in this building. And when I read the first paragraph, it stated, "I would like to express in the strongest possible terms the PSA's deep concern over the discovery of friable asbestos in the Taupo building, blah, blah. And now disappointed that some are questioning the need to vacate the premises. This will have a direct impact on the health well-being of our members. I want to know who were those councillors that were questioning the need to vacate the premises." So what I did, I rang Glenn Barclay, the National Secretary, and posed the question, where did your information come from? And the response rightly was from our PSA delegate. So while I was in conversation with Mr. Barclay, I said to him, "Do you realise that air monitoring has been done and there's no asbestos danger in this building?" And basically his words, exact words were no. I then raised the question with him that if he's expressing concern in a letter dated the 16th of May, why was he not informed that the asbestos, in brackets, supposedly was found in August of last year, and why hadn't his members here or himself raised those issues? So then what I did, I went into Dowdle and Associates website, and what concerned me was this first statement in their website in regards to asbestos, and I'll read it because I think it's applicable in this instance. Often when we mention of the word asbestos sends people into a state of panic, which in many cases is not justified. We believe the state of panic is often compounded when members of the public, buyers, vendors and even tenants have been subject to what can only be described as scare tactics, either through misguided media coverage or by third parties wishing to gain this misconception. So having read that when I was at home, I thought, what's my next course of action? So my next course of action was to contact the two companies concerned, ClearSafe and Dowdle and Associates. After a conversation, let's start with Dowdle and Associates, who were the ones, the document that we had a look at, the 22 pages on the 16th of May, and I'll read out what the asbestos survey manager states. In reference to our telephone conversation concerning the asbestos issues, I have reviewed the report Dowdle and Associates performed on the Taupo building. The materials identified are non-fibrable materials, which mean fibres not easily released unless the material is damaged or tampered with. I believe in this instance there is a small amount of damage to some wall claddings at low level, and they were shown in those photographs. This material should be encapsulated/repaired and the bare edges paint sealed, and then it poses no problem and can manage in situ. If there are ongoing concern around the damaged material, then removal of that material would be the final solution. The other SPS containing material were deemed to be in good condition and therefore can be managed in situ. I believe air monitoring was conducted on the site and they were clear below the workplace detention limit. It was 0.01. As you're aware, there is abundant asbestos containing material used in all sorts of applications to a vast amount of buildings of all types nationwide. As long as the asbestos containing materials are kept in good condition and are identified and managed according to the Health and Safety at Work Asbestos Regulation of 2016, then they pose no immediate problem. But here to me is the crunch. It is, in my opinion, as long as the identified asbestos is remediated and managed in accordance with Dowdle's report, the building is safe for occupation. So I then had a conversation with a girl called Sana Robinson. She's the manager of ClearSafe. And after the conversation, she put in writing the following. Remember, this is the one that did the big report that was in here with all the fibrable areas, non-fibrable areas, because there was only one fibrable. This was her response. As per our telephone conversation earlier, at the time of the survey, the asbestos was observed to be in a condition considered safe for normal activities to proceed. Air monitoring would confirm this, and it did. And then they go on about asbestos management plan, because that's now on our risk management. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say to you that I believe we've been inundated with scare tactics without due facts. We have not had any of the three companies that have done surveys on this building come and address us. I tried from day one to get air monitoring done. That finally took place just prior to the 16th of May. So my recommendation to this council, rightly or wrongly, is that we put on hold any further attempts to leave this building until we ascertain where we're going to rebuild. If, by public opinion, we decide to rebuild here, the property is no problem. If we decide to opt out and go somewhere else, these buildings are suitable for continued occupation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boddy. Any other questions, clarification of these minutes? Additional queries?
Can we discuss that or not?
Will we discuss this matter?
We're confirming the minutes here, so if there's some, if you're wanting to discuss any actual matters pertaining to these minutes, I'm happy for that, but
So what do we do to the chair? What do we do with that information that hasn't been circulated, obviously? But
most councillors are aware of the situation. but we've canvassed the situation.
Well, Mr Chairman, I would suggest that if there's a councillor here that wants to question what I've just said and question the minutes they have a right to, these councillors, I believe, have not been informed fully of what's wrong or right with this building. You've had the reports, but no one has examined them fully or contacted the companies concerned, hence the results that I've received.
That's your belief. So you're entitled.
Mr Chairman, are you challenging ClearSafe and Dowdle Associates that it's my belief or their belief? Tell me which it is.
You're entitled to your belief, like all the other councillors are entitled.
It's not my belief, it's what I've been told by the experts. I'm not an asbestos, nor are you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or queries or points of clarification of these minutes? No? Okay, could I have a mover for these minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. All right, 4.1. Okay.
Sorry, just through the chair, I know we've accepted receipt of the minutes, but councillor Body has raised a matter arising from those minutes. Are we going to discuss that matter? I would like an explanation in light of the letters that Mr Body has had from these companies that we don't need to vacate the building, and they've put it in writing. Is that right, John?
Correct. Correct.
Are we not going to have a discussion about that?
The minutes have been confirmed and that there's no, it's just the correctness of the minutes, I think.
So our standing order state that the only topic that may be discussed at a subsequent meeting with respect to the minutes is their correctness as to what was said at that meeting. My suggestion is that if you wanted to discuss this further, it would need to be subject of an agenda item. Separate agenda item to a further meeting.
Is there any appetite for a separate item of your Virginia? No.
Well, I find it absolutely incredible that councillors decided to ignore the advice. In fact, there's advice from 3 companies that were involved with this. I didn't introduce ward demolition, to sit there and not ask for it to be fully discussed today before we spend more ratepayers' money that may be not needed if we do not build on the site.
Item number 4.1. So we'll just carry on with confirming of the minutes. Ordinary Turangi Tongariro Community Board meeting on the 11th of April. 4.1. Now just acknowledge the chairman of the Turangi Tongariro Community Board, Andy Hema. Nice to see you, Andy. And of course, board member Karen Donnan here this afternoon. Nice to see you guys. All right, 4.2? 4.1. Yep. Any points of clarification of those minutes, please?
Happy to move, Chair.
Happy to move. Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Cousins. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Item 4.2. Shortly. Confirming the minutes of the 9th of May for Turangi Tongariro Community Board minutes. Could I have a mover, please, for those? Thanks, Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Cousins or Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Right, item 4.3, extraordinary Turangi Tongariro Community Board meeting on the 18th of May. Councillor Kingy.
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Right, 4.4. Item number 4.4, the ordinary Mangakino Pawakani representative group meeting.
Mr Chairman,
18th of April. Councillor Body.
Mr Chairman, prior to you doing that, I'm sorry, I want to get a handle on whether it's later in the agenda in regards of the occupation of the Turangi facilities by DOC. Is that part of the minutes? Because there was a normal meeting, which I believe Councillor Cousin was at, then an extraordinary meeting was called.
Yes.
I've read it, I just can't.
So the minutes are there.
4.4.
4.4, is it?
Yeah.
4.4.
On page 32.
4.3. We'll just confirm those minutes.
Yeah, you just
4.3. That's, is it in there?
No, 4.3.
Yes, it is in there, item number 3.
It's in two parts essentially, Your Worship. There's an element there which you've just gone through, which is a resolution of the board, as you'll see there, recommending that council revoke its previous resolution, and then you have a matter subject to the confidential part of the agenda item, which is that recommendation to be discussed.
So that's in the agenda item, and the confidential item.
It is due to some commercial elements around the lease amounts, etc.
The reason I raised it, Mr. Chairman, I'd rather do it in open meeting and don't want to go into the confidentiality part, is the fact that what is the procedure for when something's passed, what's the procedure? How long after that is passed can it actually be revoked? Is there a time frame? Number of members have to be asked? Because I don't see that being recorded if that was the case.
No.
If I understand the question, then the answer is no. With it being an extraordinary meeting, there's the ability for that committee or that board to make a decision at that stage. So
it could be overturned overnight then, basically.
Not overnight, because there's a notifying process, etc., of an extraordinary meeting, but the fact that it went through an extraordinary meeting means that they were then had the ability to then do what they've done.
Thank you.
No. Okay. All right, 4.4. That's the Mangakino Paukani Representative Group meeting, the 18th of April. I have a mover, please, for those minutes. Moved by Councillor Truman, seconded by Councillor Cousins. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. All right, ordinary Taupo Airport Committee meeting on the 1st of May. Any
Yes.
matters arising? Councillor Rankin.
I did apologise for that meeting and it's not recorded.
Okay. Thank you. Yep, cool.
Oh, yes it is.
It is recorded. Oh, sorry. It is too. You are there in
I
lights.
misread it.
gave your apologies in the meeting.
Thank you. I am sorry.
Very effective chair. All right. Do you have any points of clarification regarding the meeting, Councillor? No? No typos? Okay. I have a mover, please, Councillor. I have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Seconded by Councillor Kingy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item 4.6. 4.6. Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 15th of May. Any matters arising? No. Have a mover, please. Happy to move that. Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item 5.1. Right, the request for extension for the district bulk haulage contract. Mr. Dennis Lewis.
Your Worship, councillors, I'll take this item as read. It's for a heavy haulage extension of 1 year and ask any questions.
Thank you, Dennis. Any questions of Mr. Lewis? Comprehensive report there by the sound of it, Mr. Lewis. Where's the resolution though? Recommendation, here it is.
I have one question if I can for the chair.
Councillor Cousins?
Just as minor, so the original contract price was 319, that was for 3 years.
That's correct.
The next year is going to be 107.
That's correct.
Which is not...
It is, it's about 106,000 something for each year.
Right. Okay. Yep. And if we give them another year, it'll be that same figure again?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
That's what I want. Thank you.
Cool. Are you happy to move that, Councillor
Yes.
Cousins? So moved by Councillor Cousins, seconded by Councillor Hickling. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Right, adoption of fees and charges, 2017 and 18. Ariel. Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry, you've got the poor replacement today.
Okay, good afternoon, Nick.
Good afternoon. I'll be very brief. I'll take the report as being read. You will have noted in the report that we've had no submissions on the fees and charges, which means you've not had any requirement to hold a hearing. The fees and charges are sitting in the attached schedule for your approval.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions or queries of Nick? Councillor Cousins?
Chair, just an explanation, and it may have been asked before, and I might have missed it, but on page 59, I wanted to know what an auxiliary operator registration was. I meant to ask that. Any ideas? Under environmental health, auxiliary operator registration.
No, I couldn't tell you, but we can find out.
Oh, it's no biggie. I just thought maybe this seemed a bit bizarre. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Yep, thank you. Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Cousins. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Right, adopted. Otamahiki Hot Stream Cultural and Ecological Enhancement Project. Afternoon, Fraser and Gareth.
Good afternoon.
Through the chair, I'd like to just introduce this.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
Yes.
So the concept plans for Otamahiki Stream project were presented and workshopped last Tuesday. Basically, the project is, at the start of Hooker Falls walking track. You will see from the report that there's been a massive increase from 2005, about 500 people a day, to 2016 to 1,500 people a day. The project seeks to enhance this popular area. The key issues there, which are well articulated in the report, are no recognition of the cultural significance to the site for Māori, erosion, so that's river erosion, and also traffic erosion, bush toileting, damage of rare ferns, and also increased number of complaints around threatening behaviour around that site. So the decision we're asking today is to approve the concept plans and go to detailed design and tender. So we'll take the report as being read, but since there were a few that couldn't make the workshop, I've asked Fraser just to run through. He's just got 3 or 4 slides. Thank you.
Which will come up any second, but until they do,
Yep.
afternoon,
Okay,
worship
thanks,
councillors.
Fraser.
We'll use the ones in the agenda, if that's okay. So the first one's just to clarify the site itself for anyone who hasn't been there. It's the confluence of the Otamahiki hot stream and the Waikato River. And it's about 100 metres by 100 metres, the site, with the river, with the stream itself in the middle of the site. There's 3 ownerships, there's 4 key ownerships that pertain to the site. So there's Patuiwi Trust, so this is on page 88. There's Patuiwi Trust to the northeast. There's a thin slither of Department of Conservation land running up the river. There's the Tūwharotoa Maori Trust Board land with the Waikato River, and then there's council land to the south. As outlined in the report, the site problems are many. There's theft, drinking, damage to endangered ferns, which run up the unique ecosystem that the hot stream allows. There's erosion, as mentioned, so that's riverbank erosion, but there's also surface erosion for the just a huge amount of catchment that comes down from Spa Park through this site. And then there's a real lack of legibility about the site. When you get there, you don't understand what you're dealing with. Really, there's no signage that explains the cultural value of the site. There's nowhere to get changed. There's nowhere to use our toilet at all, and there's nowhere to linger longer. There's no nice grass areas for people to spend time there and take in the picturesque surroundings. I guess until this comes up, the next step would be to go to the plan itself. Now, every enhancement that we've proposed is to address one of the issues that we've uncovered through this site. Sorry, one other thing to add is that we've worked really closely with the stakeholders on this site. So it's not only the landowners, but there's also the police and the regional council and the people who use it, the tourists and the locals themselves. So if I do a quick walkthrough, if we start at this is so small, but if we start at the bottom of the page, and at the top, the main change there is to bring in a threshold experience. So that's page 88, page 90, sorry, on the agenda.
So you'll note there's page 90, but there's also an A3 pull-out.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, the threshold experience is important so that people, as soon as they get there, they understand the importance of this place and its cultural meaning. So that their attitudes are changed, because that's the main thing we're trying to change here. People are turning up and treating it, they're trashing it, basically, and through, bush toileting, rubbish, litter, and then the antisocial behaviour that goes along with that. So we're just trying to change people's mindset from the very outset when they get there. So that could take, that threshold experience would be signage, but also working with Tūwhātoa and Patuiwi, having some cultural elements, so some carved bow there as well. The next element, or the next enhancement feature would be the toilet block. So because of the location or the vicinity to the Waikato River, which is a landscape area of significance under a district plan, we'd like to reduce the bulk of that structure, so nestle it into the bank. That provides us two opportunities. It reduces the bulk of the structure itself, but it also allows us to use the roof as a viewing platform, which will help with the passive surveillance issues that we have on this site. So if you're in the stream or you're in the site and you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, there's that opportunity that someone will just pop up on that platform and see you. And most thieves are notoriously shy, so they don't like that. The next feature is to improve the access to the site. So at the moment, it's a very steep access track down there. The regrading that track will improve that access. Then the next feature is to deal with the erosion. Excuse me. So realigning that track will help deal with the erosion that comes off the spa park itself. But the river erosion and stream erosion, we're looking to deal with that with features that are in keeping with the environment, so some rock placements and plantings. Also, relocating the bridge further up the stream helps reduce the need to worry about the erosion, because at the moment we've got hard infrastructure right next to an eroding bank, which is not ideal. So relocating it does two things. It deals with that erosion issue, but it also removes that troll-like experience that we're providing for people. And one of our... and one of our, which should be one of our best treasures, really, but we're not treating it like that. The next element, which will really help with the passive surveillance, is the proposed kiosk that Patuiwi want to put on their land, which is at the northern end. You can see, so they're proposing to put two modified shipping containers there with an outside decking area and serve coffee and tea and cool drinks. And they want to do that for two reasons. It's a great opportunity for them, but also they take the guardianship or the kaitiangi of this area very seriously, and they want to be a part of improving this area. There should be an image of the... Oh, there we go.
There. Is that this?
So this is the toilet block.
Oh, okay.
Which I mentioned, with the viewing platform on top. Toilets underneath, and a changing area at the front, and then some lockers which are they operate by coin exchange, so there's no money kept on site. And I take the rest of the paper as read. Are there any questions?
The shipping containers, is that the latest thing, is it, or? Is it,
yeah.
Is it, because that's quite a nice building. The toilet block's quite a aesthetically, yeah. There's no way the cafe concessionaire could sort of end up looking a little bit like that as well, no? Sorry,
no.
I'll be chucking these in a bit late in the
piece, the bottom image there shows that what they're proposing. So it's probably very small. You probably can't make it out.
But a couple of things in terms of that. One is that's the private land component, so it's not on council land, so it's not actually your decision in terms of the shipping container.
Right.
Probably the second bit is that we all have in our mind the picture of a port with all the ugly shipping containers. They can be made quite nice, and the one, probably the local one, with the one at Taupo Point, which is the little cafe there, which actually looks quite tidy.
Cool. Thank you. Councillor Park.
I was just going to say thank you, and I really enjoyed the interactive workshop with Patuiwi Trust the other day. I thought it was great to have them sitting alongside us and talking to us about this. As I mentioned the other day, I just don't know if one male and one female toilet is going to cut it. I just sort of think if we're going to do this, we need to do it properly and do it to future-proof, because the projected numbers are huge. So I just wonder in the design whether they can give some options on more toilets, pans perhaps. Also, that we will also have the opportunity to look again at some central government funding possibly for the shortfall with the Tourism Infrastructure Fund. It should be good. I think that where we really lack in our district to others is we don't have that cultural tourism experience or those stories that other areas have, and we need to start doing that. And I just think this is a really exciting project to get that stuff underway and sort of lead the charge. So I'm quite happy to support the resolution to go out for tender and design.
Councillor Hickling?
It was basically the toilets at the workshop. It was mentioned that there's probably 1,500 people a day going through this facility, which is going to increase. I'm just wondering, like, the true value of the changing facilities, and because I don't know, perhaps even male, but certainly females, I think, prefer to go into a toilet facility to change sooner than be out in the open, as you might say, in a room. So I'm just wondering whether or not some of the changing facility could be cut down a little bit, and further toilet facilities. Just.
Through the chair, that is something that we'll look at. We've already had discussions about increasing those toilets, so the number of pans.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Councillor Park and Councillor Hickling. I had a talk with an someone that's in tourism this morning, and they made a comment to me about down there, and I was there yesterday. 99% of the people either arrive in a van, so they got their kit on when they get to the pools, or through the backpackers, they're told to make sure they got their clothes, their togs, so they can on and off. But the one about the bathrooms is I think very important. We can do away possibly with the changing rooms, but incorporate them with maybe 2 more toilet facilities as a cost-saving exercise. So.
Right with that, Fraser?
I guess I've done a fair few site visits down there.
Yeah.
It's always weird to...
What have you seen?
To prove that you're doing a site visit, you're not just taking photos of people down in the
Is that where I got in trouble yesterday?
But a lot of people are still getting changed down there.
Yeah, with the towels.
Probably most of them, yeah.
That's not the information I had, but...
Yeah. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Which is what you're asking. So we have some spaces.
Yeah. Just one more pen, I think, yeah. Councillor Rankin?
One of the big issues is theft, and I know you're going to have lockers. Is that, and I know people are going to look over and be seeing, but is that enough?
It's in a public place. It's probably, there's limited things that we can do. Having the trust there is going to be a huge help. The thing that the police were really hot on was having a liquor ban down there.
Right.
That would help with that, I don't know, but it would help with the whole feel of the place.
It was a policeman who suggested to me that he thought we should have some big exposed thing where people could put their bags and stuff that everybody can see. So if you went up and took the wrong one, I mean, I don't know, but he did suggest that to me. And can I ask, the design of it, it does look like a power station. I assume it's not going to look like that once it's actually constructed.
Hopefully it doesn't look like
It looks like a power station to me.
Saying that to an architect, I don't know.
Sorry.
It might be solar powered though.
Interesting.
You can talk later.
Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Williamson.
Through the chair. Just hope this makes sense. In 2015, funds were allocated in the LTP primarily for toilets and pathway improvements. I realise the scope's changed drastically since, but that $118,000 applied for from central government funding was based on that initial proposal, that scope.
So the scope's changed quite considerably.
Just on the because under the risks, the council choose not to progress the entire concept. To deliver the objectives of the stakeholders, there's a risk the council will not receive central government funding, but
That wasn't what you applied for.
Was what you applied for, no? I know just the other question is the indicative cost of $750,000. Just is a bit of a, I know is there a bit of a breakdown where you come to that, the cost?
So I mean, that's why we're saying in terms of this, we are hesitating to give you a budget now to be approved and saying, let's go out to tender and see what comes in and see what it is. It's a relatively unique job, the way that it is. So it's really pie in the sky in terms of what that dollar amount really is. It's indicative of what's there. Yep, we could peel it back and peel it back to the level that was at that attracted that government funding. We could certainly do that. But I guess what this is a combination of accumulation of a whole lot of work with those interested parties and what they've put forward to you as the best. So our recommendation at this stage is if we go out for tender, see how much it is, and then talk about where that funding can come from. And part of that can be potentially going back to central government, as Councillor Park talked about, for further funding, potentially some development contributions, which if we don't use, we lose, and there could be other funding streams there as well. So we're sort of suggesting that maybe that's a subsequent decision.
So I see you indicate, any further applications for government funding would probably unlikely to be approved, particularly specifically for this project.
Could be.
Once you've been approved on something, then I guess it's harder to go back for that. Yeah.
Well, I certainly support the whole project, notwithstanding Councillor Bodies and Councillor Pickling's and Councillor Park's comments about the toilets and the configuration there.
So, Mr Chairman, are we going to look at tender for the whole shooting box?
Yes.
We're not going to do it in stages, so we can ensure that we've got the funding, toilets first, along with the protection of the riverbanks and things like that, then maybe the next step, which is bridge removal and...
Sorry, through the chair. We're gonna do a tender for a turnkey, but it's going to be split up into stages. So we'll cater for a toilet block separately, for earth moving works and then erosion control as well.
And that will go forward over, say, the next long-term or plan, so each year we've allocated something to continue with the investment?
No.
We'll come back to us to...
This is just going to give us a indication of budget.
Okay.
And then to be decided at a later date.
Thank you.
Councillor Hickman.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would definitely prefer to do the whole project. I think this is a little bit like Forrawaka and our driveway down through there. Sparthel Park was developed some 35 years ago on a PEP scheme, government scheme. This is probably the first major expenditure Sparthel Park's received. And I think with the partnership of the different landowners, I think it'll look awesome when we've finished it. And I would say go for gold.
Change the toilets.
Okay. Councillor Park, did you move it? You moved it. You're cool. Can I have a seconder, please, for the recommendation that the concept plan's been approved? Okay, seconded by Councillor Hickley. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you very much, gentlemen. 5.4 is Mr Green.
So, Mr Chairman, I'll start off very quickly and then hand over to the team to run through the specifics in the report. I guess just to kick off, I'd say the organisation, the council organisation, is an incredibly busy space at the moment. There's a heck of a lot going on through some of the organisational development projects that we've got underway. It is a straining time for the staff because of that, and they are under a heck of a lot of pressure. In saying that, and because of that, I'm remarkably proud of two or three of the things which have happened in the last month. The first of those is the effort that the Civil Defence team have put in and some of the accolades that they got, both helping in Edgecombe after the flood events, where we sent our emergency response team and a couple of other staff, a couple of building inspectors, communication staff and customer service staff to go and help over there. The feedback I've had from Edgecombe and from the Whakatane District Council is that our input into that event was irreplaceable and was central to them being able to cope in the way that they did. So very proud of that team. And then obviously hot on the heels of that was our own activation of the Emergency Operating Centre back here due to Cyclone Cook, which again I think was managed in a very good way. Thankfully the cyclone passed us by, but we were certainly ready to go should that have eventuated a different way.
Likewise, there's a note in the item there about a couple of our staff, namely Kevin Sears in particular, who's been recognised on a national stage for his work in the water and wastewater operations area. So that's a real bouquet for him personally and for the wider team. And then lastly there, I guess, is to point out, and this went to Audit and Risk Committee at their last meeting, was the AC Baths achieving its pool safe accreditation, which in itself isn't unusual. That's happened every year that they've got it. But I guess the particularly pleasing thing there was that the commentary in that report was that out of the 146 pools that have pool safe accreditation, AC Baths was held up as the best in the country, so the best of those 146 pools. So I think that's a heck of an achievement for you as governance, all the way through to the lifeguards on duty and the team at the baths. So that's all I've got to say there, and then I'll just let the team run through the report.
Just through the chair, just a question, Mr. Green, just in terms of the challenges and it relates to the relocation, you indicate that it's going to take a couple of months until those relocations are finished. I just wanted to ask, under the Health and Safety Work Act 2016, in regard to asbestos, we have a duty of care as a PCBU to have an asbestos management plan, and that is our responsibility around this table here collectively. I haven't seen that plan. I just want to understand where it's at, and we'll get an opportunity to look at it, please. Because the scope of that report is quite extensive.
So I'll ask Mr. Robertson to come forward. We are working on it.
Hi. So they're busy developing the management plan now. As a precaution, we've put in regular air monitoring to come back into place. And we are looking at rehousing our staff in the front side of the building to another location in this building.
Sure. So, I mean, I had a look at the regulations. They're quite extensive, and there are quite a few steps that we need to ensure that we've done, and that includes health monitoring of our staff, emergency procedures, things like that. So we will see that, because we need to ensure that that is done.
Yes.
That's probably Audit and Risk Committee if we bring that back up at the next Audit Committee meeting.
I'd prefer to see it sooner than that if the matter is as urgent as we say it is, and we're still a few months away, please.
Okay. Alan, Mr. Meehan.
Right. As I mentioned at the last month's meeting, we have had an excellent year. The ball has not been dropped during April, and we continue to outperform budget. I mentioned last time about the level of activity that was happening in areas of the business, and the fact that we're able to achieve that without increasing our personnel costs. Just to give an idea of what's been happening, resource consents this year are up 28% on the number of resource consents last year. The number of building consents is about the same, but the actual average dollar value of those building consents is up 33%. And the number of building inspections that have been undertaken by building inspectors are up 19%. This year on last year. So it just gives you an idea of the level of activity. You can see there that the regulatory revenue is ahead 233,000, but it's actually the activities that are occurring in the background that I think we don't really fully acknowledge, the level of activity that's being undertaken by staff. And as a result of that, even building in the 800,000 for relocation costs, you can see that we are going to be well in excess of the budget from that we set for this particular financial year. I know some of that's related to development contributions and things of that nature, but the key thing is we've driven the increased revenue without blowing the personnel costs.
Thanks, Alan. Community Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll address this one to start with. The favourable variance that was reported last month is continuing, as Alan has explained previously. One item I can update is the revenue from emergency management. We indicate there being ahead of plan by 126k. I can confirm now that one of the bigger fires that relates to has now been approved by NRFA and will be coming its way to us shortly, which is important given that the NRFA goes out of existence in about 6 weeks' time. So it was good to get that one cleared away. Just on that, we are working heavily in that space. We are exiting an activity as a council, rural fire. We are also looking to the wind-up of Pumiceland's Rural Fire Authority, which we are a contributing stakeholder. So those things are ongoing in the background. In light of what Gareth said previously about the work that's been happening in the civil defence space with the events we've had, there's a nomination gone into the Business Awards, and if my memory serves me right, it's a combined nomination around the civil defence, rural fire response teams and also our own community engagement teams. So we're very hopeful of a positive result on that. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Brian. Any questions, Brian? Okay, water.
I'll take this one. So I'll take all the pages as read, and for water transport and wastewater, you'll see the DCs have increased, and that's we talked about that last time. Basically, we've had a lot more subdivisions coming through. So in the water, there's a 221k variance in subsidies and grants. This again is just due to timing. It's the same as last month. So a couple of project updates in the water space. Waitanui is a multi-year project. The tender will be released for shortlisted tenderers in June. There's a slight delay there. We had May/June, but we're working on June. We're working through some lease documents for that project as well. And then the other one is the backup for Bonshaw Park water bore. That'll be in place by December. So if there's no any questions on water, I'd like to move on to transport, if that's all right.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question on water? Could I ask the question in regards to Waitanui, applications have now been sent out. How many applications, Mr. Strongman?
Hopefully Mr. Lewis can help me there.
It would have been sent out to all residents within the Waitanui township.
So is that the 200 and something? And when are they all due back in as a final date?
I don't have an answer for you. I can find that out for you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Transport.
Transportation, the thing I want to point out to there is renewals. You'll note the discrepancy in renewals. It's just over $1 million, pretty much completed. All reseals and the HABs are continuing, so it's just a matter of invoicing, catching up with us there. Seal extension, final section awaiting a few days of fine weather for us to complete that. And Hooker Falls footpath tenders are received. We received one tender, and we'll be wanting to move forward on that one. And the Whariwaka to Rambo Point project will follow the Hooker Falls project, so we're going out to re-tender that in June.
I'm sorry, just through the chair. Mr. Strongman, it's not to do particularly with one of those projects, but the seal that was done up the Control Gate Hill, I understand that the contractor was contacted about dissatisfaction with that piece of road. Do you know when it's going to be redone?
So through the chair, we've done some remedial work on there, and they were contacted, and we had some pretty robust discussions with them, not just about that length of road, but also about Mirror Street. And we've had the remedial repairs have been done on that. Yep.
Right, thanks, Kevin. Community facilities.
That's over to me. So these are something I think we all should be really proud of. And in order to recognise that, going on from what Brian was saying there, we've entered two of our departments in the Business Awards. That's the community gym and the swimming school, because they do some quite amazing work, and it was quite timely they came up because they are quite decent sized businesses in the grand scheme of things. You'll be pleased to know that last week we broke even on the rock wall, as was our promise, so that was quite a cool thing to say. There's a lot of pride behind that, and a lot of hard work, and I have to say, and a lot of change in our service delivery. So I think hats off to Scott and the rock wall team there, because they've done pretty amazing work. We've got a big invoice to go to Contact Energy at some point for the amazing sponsorship they give us for the Contact Swimwear programme. One thing I'd say, I'd like to take the opportunity during the long-term plan process, probably to get you a bit more tuned into what they're about and what the demands are in those areas, because you probably, unless you use them regularly, you're probably not au fait with some of that. So we might take you on a bit of a journey there. Any questions, I'll gladly answer.
Lovely, thank you,
Through
John.
the Chair, just on
Councillor Williamson.
with the Oramahiti stream project, we've got the project budget 248,000. This is for this financial year. And you've got obviously the budget is 367. That's over the next 2 years. 367.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wastewater.
Sorry, to the chair.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I missed it. Just in regards to the rock wall, which is exceptional news, so we're saying that the numbers are up?
Numbers are up, yeah, patronage, we've changed the opening hours and a whole heap of things just to, our target was to break even.
Yes.
So yeah, so numbers are up, patronage is up, and we did alter the fees and charges slightly, but not hugely.
So we've reduced the hours or we enlarged the hours?
No, we've enlarged them, we're a lot more accessible, particularly at the weekend. We did a lot of marketing, particularly into the backpacker market. We've had open days, so the guys have been pretty creative, and as a result, we've seen a massive increase.
It's good news, because it was a real contentious issue back in the day, but yeah.
The difference, I think, is we're open now when people want to climb, rather than when we want to be there.
Yeah.
Great news.
Basic philosophy
Yeah.
as well.
Wastewater.
So I'd like you to, just discrepancies here or of note is page 112. In particular, the Turangi wastewater treatment plant, that's been well articulated in the past. But the Kinloch wastewater disposal field, we've actually realised we've fallen a little bit behind on that, and we've engaged someone to give some assistance in that. So we'll hopefully be moving that on a lot quicker in the near future.
Questions? Solid waste.
Solid waste is reduction in April tonnage, reflects weather conditions. Projected to be about 25,000 tonnes by the end of the year. So that's an increase of about 4,000 tonnes over the performance measure, which is approximately about 2 months' worth. So it is substantive. Again, as discussed previously, this is due to current good economic conditions, basically more money around and people are creating more waste.
Stormwater.
No exceptions to report on stormwater.
Chairman, sorry, Mr. Chairman, just going back to the solid waste, I know we had that construction of that new cell at Broadlands, it was about $1 million, but on the left-hand side, current issues, access to a new cell for bag refuge, is that where you go and throw your rubbish? Is that like a silage pit thing? What actually is that?
Sorry, I missed that question.
Oh, sorry. On the left-hand side, under current issues, under solid waste, access to the new cell for bag refuge has been created at the landfill. What's that?
Hopefully Mr. Lewis can help me out here.
It might sound like it's stating the obvious, but what it's actually doing is providing access to that cell so that the refuse can be dumped. So
it makes it easier for my car. Is that what you're saying?
I know that the bag refuse is what's collected in the truck.
I thought we'd just done that tender on.
No.
No, the tender we just did was bulk haulage,
okay.
which is from the transfer stations.
Okay. Yes.
The bag refuse is from your
Street collection.
street.
Okay, yeah, that was very obvious, thank you.
Democracy and planning.
Thank you, Your Worship. Really no exceptions here. I hate to use the term business as usual, because it's probably not. But we are planning for the future, obviously, in terms of your needs going forward. And that's pretty much it, really, in terms of that.
Investments, I'll just use Brian's phrase of business as usual, but we'll talk about it more when we get to the Treasury Management Report.
Thank you. Right. Economic development.
A lot of this is out of our control in terms of these measures, but a couple of things I'd just like to highlight. First of all, I think the first ski day is coming up. That's June 6th, 9th, I can't remember which, but that's pretty exciting for the town. And this weekend we had obviously RAL and part of the Winter Festival around set up on Robert Street, which is really popular. About 1,500 people through there, I think, at the weekend. Our amazing new baggage handling area at the airport will be constructed fairly soon. We've had the figures back and they're below the 80,000 that we that Councillor Jolland suggested it would be, so we came in around mid-50s on that, but then email will be going out confirming that to the TAA team. And one final thing is you've seen the hashtag Love Taupo signage. It's on the lakefront. Well, 3rd of June, I'm told, Oriel, is the hashtag Love Taupo signage, which is the DGLT signage. You notice that we've been progressively trying to find a good location for that. There'll be an item coming up to the next council meeting on that as to whether that should be a permanent installation. But what I would say is the amount of apparently Instagram stuff that I'm up to speed. I'm looking at Jess for help here. It's huge in terms of that activity, but fundamentally just keeps putting us on the map, and that's what we're about. So, yep. So some cool stuff going on, and onwards and upwards.
Thank you, John. Hold on.
Treasury Management Report, the finance team have kept their fingers on the pulse exceptionally well. As you can see, the borrowing portfolio is within our forecast of ending the year about 146 million. The investment performance, both in the general funds and the TEL, is well ahead of the budget for the year, and our net debt position will be well below what was originally forecast.
Any questions, Alan, on those numbers? No? Thank you, Alan. Okay, very good. There's a recommendation there. Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, members of the management team, for reporting pretty good stuff. Business as usual, really. That is good, and well done. Okay, suggested recommendation. Happy to move Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 5.5, Standard & Poor's annual credit rating. Mr. Neil Ward. Good afternoon, Neil.
Good afternoon, Worship and Councillors. So this is an annual item that we bring up regarding our annual credit review for Standard & Poor's, and delighted to be able to present it to you in the fact that we've retained our AA credit rating again this year, which is basically the highest you can get at the moment in New Zealand. The New Zealand government's rating is AA+. And the value of that to council, as you see in the discussion part of the paper, with the credit rating and the being a foundation member of the LGFA, is worth $730,000 to us per annum at the moment. So I'll take the rest of the item as read and open for questions.
Thanks, Neil. Chairman. Councillor Body.
Thanks, Neil. On page 135, in regards of that first paragraph, 135, after capital account surpluses.
I think my numbering is probably slightly different to yours. Sorry, John. What's the page on the S&P report for? Is it
3-4? Could just explain part way down, almost to the bottom. In fact, it's probably the last lot of sentences. We expect Taupo to spend between 16 million and 23 million on infrastructure, predominantly renewals, which is around 22% of total expenditure. This is significantly lower than 2010, when the capital expenditure was over 60%. Is there any concern within council of that low percentage of renewals?
No, it's not just renewals. So what Standard & Poor's look at is both the new capital expenditure and your renewal program. If you go back into 2010, that's about when we were building the ETA. So we had quite a peak of expenditure around things like ETA, new wastewater treatment plants, new water treatment plants over the road over the last, from going backwards from now over a number of years. We've entered into a kind of a more of a realm at the moment where we've completed those large infrastructure projects. Council absolutely should be concerned that we continue to maintain our renewals programs going forward, and you're seeing that through our condition assessment programs coming through. So we're very acutely aware of what needs to be spent there. So I guess
council should not be concerned by that statement about the 60% then versus the 22% now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this? Board? Well done, team, on achieving that status again. Obviously, it takes a lot of interviews and a lot of conversations with Standard & Poor's, and so to retain that rating is excellent. So well done. Right, suggested recommendation there. We received the report from Standard & Poor's. Moved by Councillor Cousins, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Neil. Item 5.6, Tina. Meetings. Meetings and opportunities.
Just one change to note, and that's the TAA meeting, which was set down the 12th, is now moving to the 26th.
26th of June. Oh,
And Zone 2.
Zone 2.
On the 9th of June. And councillors would like to see that.
It's in Taupo.
South Waikato.
Taupo, is Takaroa?
Taupo, South
Yeah.
Waikato, yeah.
Taupo. Anyone want to go to Taupo? Councillor Rankin? No?
Thank you.
I don't think you've been to a Zone 2 meeting yet.
No, I haven't, no.
Oh, it's
Not.
Kirsty?
No, I can't do that date, yeah.
Can't do the date? Okay. Oh, well, it has to be Councillor Cousins then. All right, can we leave that one in abeyance at this stage, or Richard, if anyone wants to take them, we can retrospective. Only just up the road, I might don't need accommodation? No. Okay.
I might, I'll just check, but I could be a starter.
Okay.
So can we put you down?
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Heckling. All right, receives information, Councillor Heckling, that's all we need to do. So recommendations 1 and 2, is that all, Tina? Yep, can I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councillor Kingy, body, seconded by Councillor Kingy. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Right, members' reports 5.7. We'll table those forward to Railing. We've got reports. Anyone want to talk any verbally? Quickly to any reports? Okay, now. You'll move, yes, sorry, move the reports. Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour? Aye. Right, now we go to the confidential section, correct? Yep. So we need to include Andy and Karen. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Kingy. I'll just a couple of minutes to wind down.